Hello, and welcome to another episode of The Well-Appointed Mystic. My name is Anna, and today I thought I would do a little walkthrough and just a little FYI kind of thing on the Wonder Walking, is it Oracle? Is that what it's called? A deck for Wonder Walking is what it's called. And this was created by Amy T. Wan. I backed the Kickstarter and received the Explorer's Journal of Wonder Walking, the deck, and this fabric bag that included a journal for a diary of wonder for your wonder walking. Now, this is not considered a traditional oracle deck in any way. I'll walk through each component. So the Explorer's Journal is sort of more detailed about the process of wonder walking, and the deck itself, which is divided into, I think, 4 different categories: the physical, the influence, the creative, and the inner realm. And the cards are kind of color-coded. This book has areas for notes and sort of talking about each of the cards. And there's a ton of bookmarks that are really, really pretty in the bottom of the book, like ribbon bookmarks. But it is a hefty, decent-sized book that has all this information regarding this process of wonder walking. So then the journal that was included is a fabric colored, like a book cloth. It also has sort of the same color fabric ribbon bookmarks, just instead of having 4, it has 2, the pink and the yellow. And this one has a little section at the beginning that just sort of talks through the process and what you might want to include in your wonder walking, wonder journaling kit. And then the rest of the book is blank. And it's heavyweight paper. There's a couple little, I think that's probably the only spread in here, but mostly it's this just very heavyweight paper, and it has gold edging and a little elastic. It's a really pretty book. This is the kind of thing that's it's like so pretty and so precious that I don't think I'll ever end up using it. If I'm going to participate in sort of the wonder walking journaling process, I will probably just grab a plain journal notebook, because it's that whole reaction of like, oh, I don't want to ruin it, I don't want to mess it up. But anyway, so that's my Kickstarter backing included these 2 books, and then the deck, which came in this magnetic box. It has 48 cards, and then there's a pocket guide in here. And to be honest, this is probably the only part of this system that I'm going to end up using. One, because the box is like, this is small enough to slide in my backpack when I go for a walk, or if I'm camping, or like, I don't camp, who am I kidding? If I'm out on a little adventure, if I'm traveling, that kind of thing, I pulled the cards out. The magnet on this box is really strong. Like, I almost damaged it because I was like, does this not come open? Am I gonna have to cut it? But it's like super magnetic. So inside is the guidebook, and then these beautiful cards. And I'm pretty sure all the cards are horizontal, which I don't think I have any other decks where all of the cards are horizontal. I know like the Muse Tarot has some cards that are horizontal, but most are vertical. So it's just an interesting thing. The booklet is it's just like this accordion fold paper. There's instructions for beginning explorers, seasoned explorers, what a wonder walk is, and then details about each of the cards in each realm. And then I think on the back of this, it goes into a little bit more detail. Yeah, so example, the physical realm, which is wonder and curiosity, the creative realm, which is magic making, the inner realm, which is truth finding, and the influence, which is the secret garden. And then there's just these two places, I guess, to write notes. But this paper is that uncoated matte laminate kind of finish on this paper. So you'd have to use maybe a ballpoint pen if you wanted to use this to like write any notes on here. So I would recommend just carrying a pocket notebook with you for any notes or anything that you get while you're exploring on your wonder walking. So the reason I got this is I do really love to walk. And so I really wanted to explore the idea of putting more spirituality into my walks. I live in a very plain suburban neighborhood in the United States. So I'm not walking in the beautiful mystical woods or, you know, along the coast or anything like that. So, you know, I'm walking past clapboard houses and, you know, well-groomed lawns. And so I was hoping that this would help me kind of see more into my environment than might actually be there. You know, seeing with the human eye, or just appreciating things like catching crows flying overhead, or thinking about details. Like this card says edges, and it looks like octopus tentacles and butterflies. And it's like, you know, what is on the edge between, quote, civilization and wilderness and that kind of thing. Landmark. And it's just like a tree, you know. So the cards are really, really pretty. And even if you don't walk, I think that these would be really nice. This bunny rabbit, dreaming, would be really nice just to help stimulate creative ideas, or just sort of looking into this more wild, untamed kind of illustration style. I think it's a really pretty deck, and I really want to get more involved. So we'll use this card as an example. This is Follow the Rabbit. This is in the Secret Garden section, which is the influence realm. And it says, explore, investigate, and probe. What will you discover if you follow the rabbit of curiosity? Which I think I could get without actually looking that up. You know, that sort of Alice in Wonderland, you know. This one says study. So, and you can kind of see, I think that the colors, like some of these are a lot more yellow, some are more greens and purples. Like poetry, you know, sort of the poetry of nature, wonder. This is really sweet. It looks like a sea turtle, but it makes me think, I have a neighbor nearby who keeps a pair of giant African tortoise in his front yard. And oftentimes I make a point in the summer to walk by because the tortoise will be out, and you can kind of go over and talk to them, and they'll come up to the fence, and they like to, and their fence is only about a foot off the ground because they can't really get over the fence otherwise. But anyway, so I really enjoy, you know, that's my wildlife, is a pet African tortoise. So these are just really pretty cards. I'm really glad that I purchased the deck. In retrospect, I think in an effort to not miss out, I went ahead and purchased the journal and the diary. And I don't know that I really needed those. I will probably consult with the larger guidebook a little bit, but I think holding out for the journal was a bit, the diary journal thing was a bit like, I just wanted it because I wanted it, and now I realize it was, you know, I was spending more money than I probably should have for this particular project. I love this disruption. You can interpret this in a lot of ways. Is this the weather disrupting this journey, or is it the people on this ship potentially causing a disruption to people of another land? Like, you can look at it a lot of different ways. Synesthesia, and it shows these beautiful birds, and these, like, it almost looks like bubbles or dots. This is like some of these cards I kind of wish were vertical, because I would have liked to have seen more of the birds, but I also wouldn't really like a deck that was both horizontal and vertical. I think that would be challenging to work with. Story, this says height. So, I mean, the keywords are very suggestive. So I do think that they require a bit more work on my part to sort of dive into them. I do think these very emotive watercolor experiments are quite interesting. This one says pareidolia, which I'm not sure what that means. I think I looked this up once before. It is seeing faces or scenes in unexpected places. Oh, so it's sort of like the Rorschach test. I see like a little creature here that looks like a seal of some sort wearing a little yellow bow tie. What do you see in this card? And will I always see that seal, or will I see something else if I shuffle this and pull it again? And this card is Portals, which I think is really pretty. But anyway, so this is a deck for Wonder Walking by Amy T. Wan. It's 48 cards. It was an indie produced. I suspect that all of the Kickstarters have been sent out because I've had this deck now for a couple weeks, but since prior to doing this video. So if she has any left, they will probably be available on Etsy or on her website. I will put a link in the description if I know where to find that. Otherwise, you can always look on Kickstarter, because usually creators will include, if they, once the Kickstarter is completed, where a deck might be purchased. So yesterday, I was about to wrap this video up when I realized that one of the things that I wanted to do before I finished the video was to do a deck pairing for the Wonder Walking, a deck of Wonder Walking. Just because I found that these were so sort of suggestive and subtle, that I thought that it would be interesting to see what would happen if I tried to pair these up with maybe a tarot deck or another oracle deck. So I pulled a few decks that I thought might work with this deck. So the first one that I have is the Secret of the Witch's Garden. And I thought that this was, because it's a little esoteric as well, and also just full of those same kinds of like washy colors. Let me see, I'm gonna figure out the best way to lay these out. So maybe something like that for a card reading. So this card says Discernment with the Four of Pentacles and the King of Cups. The Wolf, the Butterfly. I think that there's some potential here were you to want to use this deck as more of an oracle. So this is Notice, which I think with the Six of Pentacles and the Knight of Pentacles is interesting. So let's see what else we have. Darkness with the Three of Cups and the Seven of Swords. That is really, there's something there. Like, this is telling a story of, you know, sometimes we do these kinds of celebrations because we are in a darker place, and maybe we are not dealing with what we really need to be dealing with, which I think is interesting. So Dusk, and the Nine of Wands, and the Queen of Swords, which I also think is an interesting reading. And I'm catching those little bolts of yellow like the torches. So then we have Shape with this little monkey. And this is a little odd. I don't know. Maybe the reading might be different. So we have Belonging with the Devil and Wheel of Fortune. Wow. That really, I think it brings a little bit of clarity for you to sort of pull these two cards that oftentimes, you know, maybe we're guilty of doing things because we want to fit in, you know, because we don't feel like we're part of the, you know, you overindulge because everyone's at a party saying, you know, oh, just have one more, you know, don't be a party pooper, you know, that kind of thing. And it's sort of what comes around goes around. It's interesting. So we have Hidden, the Seven of Pentacles, and the Two of Pentacles. So I feel like this grouping works. I think that there's a lot of potential here for using the Secret of the Witch's Garden. Is that what it's called? Witch's Garden Tarot? Tarot of the Witch's Garden? I always get it messed up because the guidebook says something different than the cover of the box. And I really wish Llewellyn would stop doing that. Just put on the cover of the book the title of the deck and then guidebook. You don't have to rewrite the title to make it something sort of similar but different. So call me, Llewellyn. Okay, so my next pairing, I'm just going to do a quick shuffle here so we're not looking at the same cards over and over again. We probably will, knowing me. So my next pairing is the Tree Keeper's Oracle, which is Angie Sullins and Stephanie Law. I thought that this would be a really good, again, it has some of that feeling of just that sort of outdoor vibe, this sort of, and because these images are so simple, I thought that these might pair. I don't normally do two oracle decks together. So that says the Sun, the Keeper of Grace, and the Keeper of Alchemy. And then Poetry. I just felt like the colors really went well together. So the Keeper of Anger, the Keeper of Solitude. So Journey, and Keeper of Trust, and Keeper of Forgiveness. Oh, that's a nice message there. Study, Wonder, and Ease. That's kind of a nice message. So Immersion, Balance, and Journeys. So I think this one kind of works. And like I said, I'm not one that's inclined to sort of mix two oracle decks, but I wanted to see what these look like together. And I think that there's potential here. Just an interesting combo. So my next pairing is the Dreaming Way Tarot. My copy has been trimmed. I trimmed off all the edges. I keep meaning to actually edge paint this, but I've never settled on what color to use. I'm one of the few people who actually kind of likes this card back. I know a lot of people don't like it, but I thought it would be an interesting pairing since it does have more figural elements, but still has that sort of washy, painted look. But I don't know. This is one that I feel like might be a bit more of a stretch. But I mean, the Lovers, Connect, and Temperance. I think there's some possibilities here. So we have Pretend, the Seven of Pentacles, and the Queen of Wands. It's an interesting interpretation. This is always such an unusual Seven of Pentacles because she's got like all these like shopping bags. It's like a weird interpretation. But with the Queen of Wands and Pretend, I kind of like get an intuitive hit here of just the idea that like maybe there's a little bit of trying to buy your way into some sort of status or something, like you're pretending to be something that maybe you aren't, and to potentially to your detriment. So just interesting. So we have Follow the Rabbit with the Ace of Wands and the Hermit. It's like followed into your own personal time, so that you can kind of spend some time developing some inspiration. I think that's kind of cool. The Queen of Cups, the Three of Wands, and color. I kind of like that. The colors don't quite go, but I feel like there's a quietness to all of these images in the Dreaming Way that I think would work. I don't know. What do you guys think? Yay or nay on the Dreaming Way paired with the Wonder Walking? Dawn and the Three of Swords and the Five of Swords. Interesting. Interesting. So this is one of the most unusual devil cards. Listen, Devil and the Sun. So dream, the Two of Cups and the Five of Wands. Again, I'm getting this message of like, maybe you thought you were making a real connection with somebody, but there's more conflict going on, like, or competition than you think. Like maybe it's a professional connection, but really they're the competitor. So you kind of, you dream that it's this scenario, but it's really maybe more of that. So anyway, this is an interesting combo. I think it works, even though maybe aesthetically it's not a spot match, but I mean, like, I'm seeing those, like, her blue cheeks really reflected in this Roots card. So I kind of like it. And I know that the Wonder Walking is really designed to be used in a very specific way, but I think that it is possible to sort of use it as a supplementary oracle deck with tarot or other oracles. So the next idea that I had was tarot landscapes, because again, it has sort of that outdoor vibe. This was Francesca Mattioni, and the artwork is by Joshimari. This one is not from one of our regular companies we regularly associate with mass market decks. It comes from a company called Vivida, which I think is a division. It says it's a division of White Star Books. Yeah. So anyway, I thought this would be an interesting combo. I wish the cardstock was better. I've got the real tippy cards, but I think aesthetically and color-wise, I think there's a real connection. Oh, look at that. So I know not everybody likes the tarot landscapes. There's some like, wow, have I pulled the devil out of every single deck I've shown today? Clearly it's telling me something. But I just think these are an interesting combo. I think that there's something here. I really like this tarot of landscapes. I have a little bit easier time, I think, identifying a lot of the animals and sort of how they might be associated with each of these. The Moon, the Three of Cups, and the Eight of Cups. Home, the Fool, and the Page of Wands. Oh, that's really sweet. So I think that there's something here. The colors and stuff, maybe not spot on, but I think aesthetically there's a real connection here. Intuition, strength, and the Six of Cups. I kind of like that. So that is the Tarot Landscapes. This is one of those decks that is a deck in a box, in a box, in a box. But I managed to ditch at least one of the boxes. I really wish this cardstock was not so. I would love for them to re-release this in something that wasn't so like tippy. This deck is like, it has a serious bow in it, and I don't know why. So it's just not very good cardstock. So I think I have two more. Maybe only one. I think this might be the last one. And this is the Forest Fae, like little message cards. And I just thought that this would be an interesting combo with the Wonder Walking, if you are inclined to. So this is almost like with a Forest Fae, I almost always just use one card with like my tarot reading. It's almost like the, you know, if you're out and about and wonder walking, looking for symbolism, you might want to sort of call to the Numina, who seeks inspiration in twilight wanderings. Like, I think the messaging on these two really go together. So textures and the Northwood Fae take time for hibernation and healing. First love and strange journeys. Take control of your quest. Choose your companions wisely with first love. How perfect is that? So aesthetically, I don't know if it's a good match, but man, the messaging is good. Discomfort and Lady of the Lost. Give to others, treasure life and all its magic. And that's interesting, thinking about discomfort, and that sometimes we get uncomfortable when we are kind of having to think about other people. You know, we get wrapped up in ourselves and our own problems, and we kind of have to shake ourselves out of it and focus on other people's concerns and, you know, focus on that kind of thing. So I think these are good messages. I really like these two together. So we have Disruption and the Thimble Witch. There is magic beginning, so start something new. Disruption, like that is perfect. You know, you need to disrupt your day-to-day or what you're usually doing in order to start something new. You know, it's like breaking out of your habits kind of a thing. So I won't go through any more of these. I think I kind of have made my point. I do think that the Forest Fae is a really good pairing for wonder walking. I think it's I like the one-to-one card match. I guess it really doesn't matter if these are upside down. Then we have the Dreaming Way, the Tree Keepers, and honestly, like the card backs are pretty nice combo. And then we have Secret of the Witch's Garden. And last but not least, the Tarot Landscapes. So those were my picks to sort of pair with the Wonder Walking. And I can't believe I got really distracted yesterday, and that was why I forgot that I was going to do this deck pairing. So I'm adding it to the end of this video. I hope it hasn't made it too long. And I hope that you enjoyed this. I look forward to doing more videos soon. Thanks so much for watching.